How's it going, kindergarteners? So today we are going to continue talking about graphing. Okay, so this week so far we've talked about two different kinds of graphs. We've talked about a bar graph and we've talked about a tally mark graph. Okay, and graphing helps us do what? What can we do when we're graphing? Anybody know? That's right, it helps us organize our data so that it's easy to read and understand, okay? So as you just watched in Brain Pop, now we're gonna learn about a new type of graph. And this graph is called a pictograph, or it could be called a picture graph. If I'm gonna use my prediction skills, what would I predict that would be a pictograph? What would I be using? So for a bar graph, we made bars, right? For tally marks, we use tallies. So what am I going to use for a pictograph? What do I predict? Well, I predict that I'm going to use pictures, okay? So, and that's exactly what we're going to do. A pictograph is where you use pictures, okay? And each picture represents one thing, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a page that I'm going to do, and I need your help to help me figure out how to put all this data and make it organized, okay? And then you're going to do it all by yourself, okay? So are you ready to help me out? Okay, here we go. Okay, kiddos, so here's my paper. And today I'm talking about insects in the garden, okay? Does anybody remember what these things over here are called? That's right, they're called keys, okay? Now, boys and girls, you have to make sure to be careful and don't let it trick you that when we're using a pictograph, make sure that we do not count the keys, okay? That's just telling us where we put the information, but we should not be counting this as one. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I've already cut out my pictures of the different types of things that we're gonna be looking for. So we're gonna be looking for a butterfly, a bee, and a snail. Okay, so I've come down here and I've cut out my pictures. Now, boys and girls, when you cut out your pictures on your paper, what is our rule? How many pictures do we count or do we cut out at one time? You only cut one picture out at a time, right? That way they don't grow legs and walk away and we lose them, because somehow that always happens. So if you cut one picture out at a time, that won't happen, okay? So I'm gonna look at my butterfly and I'm gonna come down here and my cutout pictures and I'm gonna look for my butterflies. Well, here's one. So I'm gonna glue it down in the very first square, okay? Then I'm gonna go to my next one and I'm gonna glue it down. And let's see here, do I have any more? Oh, I have one more. So I'm gonna come back up here and I'm gonna glue it down, okay? So how many butterflies do I have? Now remember, do I count the key? No. So I have 1, 2, 3 butterflies. Okay, now I'm gonna go to bees. So here's one bee. Now, can I put it right here? Like this, can I do that? Yes! No, we always have to start by the key, right? And we work our way across. Okay, so I have 2 bees, and then now I have my snails left. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my snails on there. Okay. So now, even though I'm using pictures, it also kind of made like a bar graph, right? So without even counting, because I didn't count my snails or my bees, but how many do I have? Do I have the most, what animal do I have the most of? Snails, right? Without even having to count, I can tell that I have the most snails. Okay, boys and girls, that's one of the great things about making graphs is you can tell right away which one you have the most of, which one you have the least amount of, okay? So let's go ahead and let's look. So which ones do I have the most of? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 snails. So right here where it says most, guess what word I'm gonna write? Snail. And should I spell it correctly? Absolutely, because it is right there. So I'm going to use that to help me write it. Okay, so I wrote snail. Now, which one is the one that I have the least amount of? Remember, least means smallest. So which one do I have the least amount of? Butterflies, bees, or snails? That's right, bees. So should I spell bee right? Sure, I absolutely should, because it's right there. Okay, kiddos, so I wrote bee, just like it is there. Now it wants to know the difference. Remember, difference means that I'm subtracting. So how many more snails do I have than bees? Who can tell me? That's right, 1, 2, 3. I have 3 more snails than I do the bees. So I have 3, or you could just write the number 3. Totally up to you. Okay, and now it wants to know the total. How many bugs do I have all together? Well, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to write the number 10, just like that. Do you see how I did that? So boys and girls, do you see how another way to graph is by using pictures? Okay, so now guess what you get to do? You now get to do the same thing, but with creatures in the swamp. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to figure out the most, the least, the difference, and then how many you have all together. So total means how many you have all together. Okay, you have fish, frog, and fly. And what are these right here? That's right, they are your key. So do you count them when you're counting? No. And boys and girls, how many pictures do you cut out at one time? Just one. Very good. So boys and girls, remember the first thing I do is always the same. I pick up my pencil and write my name. Then you're going to you're going to cut one picture out at a time and glue it where it belongs. And then you're going to find the most, which animal is the most, which animal is the least. Remember, least means smallest amount. The difference of the most and the least, and then the total, how many you have all together. And boys and girls, if you cannot remember, you can always come back to this video and replay it and listen to me reading this paper, okay? And you can also rewind and look at my example that I did with this one as well, okay? So if you need anything, you can always call your teacher. Also, we'd be more than happy to help you with anything that you need. Okay, don't forget, you can have mom and dad take a picture of you and send it to your teacher. We love you and you can do this. Bye, kiddos.